his third year in the Classic City. Last year, he took the Dogs to their first 20-win season in Athens in 7 years. We are ready to play some ball in the 125th meeting between the Gamecocks and the Dogs on the hardwood. Joe Lindsay, Olandis Poole, and Lee Castle are your officials. And the opening tip goes to the road Gamecocks in their black uniforms, Georgia in the home grays. Here's the big man, Nick Pringle, 5 in black, gives it up to the best shooter on this team, Mo Ugasu. And it goes off the hands of Jacoby Wright, out of bounds. Turnovers have been the absolute death of the South Carolina team.
Yeah, both coaches, Lamont Paris and Coach Mike White for the Georgia Bulldogs, talked about the fact that they had to do a better job of taking care of the basketball.
You notice number 1, Dakota LeFew, with the ball, making his first start this season. Previous 20 games, Mike White's rolled out the same starting 5. This is the first different first 5 that he's put out this year. 7 on the shot clock for the Dogs. Here's LeFew. Pocket pass to the freshman Newell for the first 2 of the game.
Well, both coaches are going to try to establish their big guys first. One of the reasons we talked about that battle. Anxious to see the guard play of these two teams as well.
Both teams fairly stout on the defensive end. You're going to see a lot of physicality. Colin Murray boils off the mark in his first shot, but the follow, no good as well, and a foul is called. That was Zachary Davis who got the foul.
Asa Newell is so good in regards to his versatility and his motor. A young man that doesn't get tired. Mike White continues to rave about the fact that he doesn't complain. He actually told us earlier today, Rich, he said, you know, where most freshmen are actually getting a little overwhelmed by the grind, he's actually telling his teammates, hey, we got to do better. We got to play harder. We've got to be more crisp. That's the kind of leadership you look for from the young freshman like Asa Newell.
First free throw is good for Zachary Davis, the junior out of Orangeburg, South Carolina. 8 different Palmetto State players on Lamont Paris's roster. It is a basketball-rich state, South Carolina. Davis goes 1 for 2. This is not a very good free throw shooting South Carolina team. Here's Silas Demery, number 5 in gray, with the ball. Georgia trying to rebound after getting thumped by 30 against Florida. Demery's first jumper is good, and that's a 3-ball.
Yeah, he shoots 36% behind that three-point line. When he's making shots, it enhances their entire offense. Both he and Blue Kane, part of that run in the NIT last year for the Georgia Bulldogs.
Georgia only makes 6.75 threes a game, so that's a good sign for this Bulldogs offense. Here's Wright. 4 on the shot clock. Pringle's going to have to go to work, and he gets it swallowed up by Newell and the Georgia defense. And it's going to be Georgia ball on the jump ball.
Well, early, I give this lead to Stegman Coliseum. You talk about the fact that when your team is coming off of multiple losses, you need to be energized. They need to feel like you're still behind them. And the young freshman, Asa Newell, continuing to show us that he is worth the price of admission.
And now number 6 in black, Jamari Thomas, quickly into the game. He missed 4 games earlier in SEC play, came back the last game out and scored 19 in his return to the lineup.
Yeah, due to the right knee sprain, you see the brace on his right knee, and he's, you know, trying to make sure he tightens it up right now. Lamont Paris, you know, said that he didn't expect for him to come back and play so many minutes, but he wants to play those minutes, and Lamont Paris, the head coach for South Carolina, has welcomed him back with open arms. 34
minutes overall in that 5-point overtime loss to Mississippi State last time out. Here's LeFew. Gets it back on the dribble handoff. And he'll try a 3 and knock it down.
Early offense, terrific terrific execution in the shoot-around this morning. Coach Mike White said if we set solid screens, we'll get what we want offensively.
Ugasu looked good off his hand, and he gets it to go.
Yeah, he's taken a huge stride this year. Best three-point percentage on the team.
That one swatted away by Murray Boyles. And Joe Lindsay stops play. Well, the defense is showing up as expected, Fish.
Yeah, both teams do an outstanding job of showing rim protection. And, you know, Colin Murray Boyles is only 6'8", but he plays more like he's 6'10", 6'11", and gives them outstanding rim protection along with Nick Pringle.
I know we've only played 3 minutes, but so far no turnovers for Georgia. That's got to make Mike White smile, at least on the inside.
I can tell you're a little cautious on how you said that, huh?
Here's R.J. Godfrey, 10 and gray. Forced it up, drew the foul. That's going to go on number 5, Nick Pringle is first.
Yeah, nice call by Joe Lindsay. As a defender, anytime you bring your arms down, you're putting yourself at risk to getting a defensive foul. Nick Pringle's got to keep his arms straight up. Love the fact that R.J. Godfrey tried to establish himself inside, the veteran who made that run with Clemson last year to the Elite Eight.
R.J. Godfrey, hot shooting from the painted area lately. 9 for 14 from the field in his last 3. He's a 65% free throw shooter, knocks down the first one to extend the Georgia lead to 9-3.
Right now, Rich, you can tell both teams just trying to get a feel for one another. You talked about the fact that they had been struggling in manufacturing points. I mean, you look at the start that Georgia had versus the start that they had on the road at Florida, and it's because of what you just stated. They were not turning over the basketball, and we see Tyron Lawrence that now is inserted into the game. Number 7 for the Georgia Bulldogs. Let's see his response off of the bench.
Luke Kane will go to the bench, and it's a 10-3 Georgia lead early going. Georgia last in the SEC in three-pointers per game. The offensive struggle is for real for this South Carolina team. They're last in the SEC in points per game. They have yet to reach 70 in their 7 SEC contests. And another South Carolina turnover.
Absolutely. And I think it's important that we remind the fans that are and the viewers that they have Miles Studi, the veteran transfer who helped them tie for second last year, who's not playing, along with Thomas now being reinserted back into the lineup.
Here's Demery. 7 on the shot clock. This is the matchup we were talking about. Newell on Murray Boyles, too strong. Pringle clears for the Gamecocks.
Lamont Paris just shocked on the sideline like, can we just hold on to the basketball? Wow.
And there's another turnover. That is number 4 for South Carolina. We have our first timeout of the evening. And South Carolina on the ropes early, down 7 in Athens.
Court against the Gamecocks, which they've done here early.
It was a really tough start schedule-wise for both of these programs, but since we're talking about Georgia, 6 of their first 7 games were against ranked teams in the SEC, and it doesn't get any easier after this game. 6 of their next 7 games are against teams that are currently ranked, because Vanderbilt has become the 14th team this year to be ranked in the top 25 in this league. It has been a banner year for SEC basketball so far.
Yeah, the Kim Palm Rainey was, I think, the best since the ACC around late 1997, I believe. And the difference in the SEC this year is the fact that there just are no nights off. I mean, you've got a South Carolina team who was in a one-possession game versus Vanderbilt, who just knocked off 2 top 10 teams. A one-possession game versus Auburn took Mississippi State to overtime. So they're the team that's looked at as a must-win.
Here's another 3. It's off the mark. That's the first miss from distance for the Dogs. Now some transition basketball. Lamont Paris telling us he wants to play with a broken floor. What does that mean?
Yeah, they want to get out in transition before the defense is set up, but if it's not there, then they want to make sure they take their time and keep from turning over the basketball and get a good look.
Arden Conyers, 21 in black, seeing his first burn. This is his first shot. Defensive rebounding, a big point of emphasis for Mike White and the Dogs, and so far so good. Big-to-big passing, and Asa Newell has a dunk. He's the 7th best dunker in all of college basketball.
Yeah, and I like the fact that Coach Mike White is going with a couple of bigs, Sumpto Surreal along with Asa Newell. They have a distinct size advantage on the interior right now against the Gamecocks.
Everybody in college basketball looking for experience, and youth is leading the Dogs. There's another South Carolina turnover, number 5 tonight. Now Newell working on Conyers. 2 feet in the paint, left-hand jump hook is good. And Asa Newell's off to a special start.
Yeah, that's pro stuff. Nice job of setting his man up, coming back to the opposite shoulder. If you're South Carolina right now, obviously the turnovers is the key. You can't have more turnovers than points.
Georgia's converted those South Carolina turnovers into 6 points, and they might have a chance at more now.
Georgia basketball.
Good ball reversal, Sumpto Surreal. You know, if you're Colin Murray Boyle, you either got to put ball pressure on or you got to stand back and help. And then Asa Newell taking advantage of the mismatch and just using his size and touch in the interior.
You and I saw this. Asa Newell, first kid out in practice, first kid out in warm-ups. He works tirelessly on his game. And so far, it's paying off in the first moments of this game. Asa Newell leading all scorers with 6 points, and it's an 11-point Georgia lead. Looking to snap a 4-game losing streak, and that on the heels of back-to-back top 25 wins that put them in the AP top 25 themselves for the first time since 2003.
Yeah, there's a lot of teams that could have lost at home to the #1 team in college basketball in Auburn and then go on the road against Florida. The challenge with that loss at Florida was they had 18 turnovers. I felt like Florida took their heart a little bit in that second half, and so I'm glad to see the Bulldogs bounce back and fight here in front of Stegman Coliseum at home.
South Carolina had 19 turnovers in their loss to Mississippi State, but Colin Murray Boyles trying to go to work, and he'll go to the line. Instead, the first foul on Surreal.
Yeah, Colin Murray Boyles is kind of like a dividend, right? Even when the stock's going down, you know you can depend on that dividend to pay you. And so for Colin Murray Boyles right now, a guy who's almost averaging a double-double, he has to be a little bit more assertive, Rich. I think at times he's not passive, but he's just too unselfish. If you got a team that struggles to score, then you have to demand a double team, and you have to be more aggressive and assertive in attacking the basket until the defense stops you.
And how about this, putting his performance this year, which has relatively gone under the radar, into context? He's one of only 3 major conference players to average 15 points, 9 boards, and 2 assists. The other 2, Janai Broome and Hunter Dickinson from Kansas.
Yeah, pretty good company, right?
CMB goes 2 for 2, and it's a 14-5 Georgia lead with the ball. Nice pass inside. And LeFew brings it back out and resets. Here's Godfrey. Turnaround, good.
Strong. I love the fact that Mike White is forcing the basketball on the interior. That's what I thought we would see more from Georgia. They've got a size advantage and a very balanced team.
That one off the hands, out of bounds. It'll stay Gamecocks basketball. Going back to you were just talking about, Mike White told us, he said, we want to use less ball screens than ever before in this game tonight. They want to make a decided effort at punching the ball in the low block. Why is that?
Well, when they use ball screens, then that's going to draw hedges and recovers or potentially traps, and that's going to limit their turnovers if they have less ball screens. So instead, they're throwing the basketball inside, so they're getting more shot attempts versus turnovers.
Here's Conyers. Gets it to go, and an and one opportunity for Arden Conyers, the redshirt freshman out of Columbia.
Yeah, Arden Conyers does a nice job of faking the screen, and then he goes back door. Tyron Lawrence just got caught up watching the basketball a little too much, and he's frustrated with himself. And Arden Conyers, the 6'7", 212 pound from Columbia, South Carolina, actually plays outstanding basketball, and I think he's critical to the upside of the Gamecocks.
Had 13 against Auburn, 10 against UF, and 12 in that loss to Mississippi State. He's getting a lot of playing time now with Stute being out with that injury.
Yeah, well, he's a redshirt freshman, so he's experienced a year under Lamont Paris.
There's a steal by Jacoby Wright, just the second Georgia turnover tonight. Here's Benjamin Bosman Verdonk. The big man gets the ball in the paint. Back out to Conyers. That three no good. And we have a foul on Bosman Verdonk. We're going the other way.
Well, it took us about 6 to 8 minutes, but it looks like South Carolina's calmed down a little bit. So now they're working uphill. But if you're Georgia right now, you stick with what has been working. Continue to pound the basketball inside to the paint.
Here's LeFew. Threw it to no one in particular. It looked like he was looking for Tyron Lawrence, but it went off the bottom of the backcourt. Lucky that it stays Georgia basketball there, and that's not a turnover.
Yeah, he got a little bit anxious. The first teamer out of the All-MAC last season, who averaged 17 points, 4 rebounds, and 4 assists. I think Georgia, similar to a lot of teams, are still unbelievably trying to figure out who they are this late in the season, and that's going to happen more. Lamont Paris talked to us about that, right? You can have a team that goes to the Elite Eight this year and then does absolutely nothing the following year because so many guys are moving in and out of the portal, and teams are figuring out one another later. They're figuring out their identity, and that's what you're seeing across all of college basketball this season.
Everyone's on a one-year contract, brother. 17 on the shot clock, 12 minutes to go in the first half. A first half so far dominated by the Georgia Bulldogs. Looking to snap a 4-game losing streak. Lawrence, left-handed jumper, no good. Offensive rebound to Godfrey. Godfrey going to work. No whistle. Let them play, say the referees.
Yeah, Mike White's conversation with Lee Cassell felt like that R.J. Godfrey was fouled. And listen, we know that the SEC is a physical league. I think it's something that will pay dividends when it comes to the tournament time.
Thomas's floater no good, but the follow tip by Nick Pringle, and he's got his first bucket of the night. Godfrey thought about it from the top of the key. Inside they go again. It's Blue Cane. Low post passing, swallowed up by Bosman Verdonk. And we have a stoppage of play and a timeout called. 11:02 to go. Georgia with a 16-10 lead over the Gamecocks. First half, Lamont Paris's crew trying to get off the schneid. They are 0 for 7 in SEC play, and you can almost say the same thing for Mike White and the Georgia Bulldogs. They have a 4-game losing streak that they're looking to wipe away with a win tonight.
And if I'm Coach Mike White, I'm feeling pretty uncomfortable right now because South Carolina got off to such a rocky start, and they're only down by 2 possessions. And Mike White, I like he's showing a little pressure right now.
South Carolina crawling back in it, and that's going to help a lot. Jamari Thomas with the bump and the bucket.
Yeah, and for Coach Mike White, he in his past has done a lot of pressing, right? And on this team, he's still trying to figure out, like I said, the identity of what they can or should do and should not do. I actually like the pressure look, but they've got to get back and make sure that the press doesn't hurt them defensively.
Well, Jamari Thomas makes that 3-point play. Despite that, Mike White told us something I found fascinating. He said, this is my most talented defensive team that I've had since my Florida team that went to the Elite Eight back in 2017. Very high praise. But now they struggle offensively. Lawrence off the mark and a stoppage of play with 10:34 to go. Well, it's a Wednesday night men's doubleheader in basketball on the SEC Network. Janai Broome leading #1 Auburn against LSU at 7 Eastern. Then Josh Hubbard and the #14 Mississippi State Bulldogs host Mark Sears and 4th-ranked Alabama at the Hump in Stark Vegas.
Yeah, terrific matchup. Speedy teams in Auburn and LSU, and then defense, offense, Mississippi State and Bama. And as Blue Cane makes that basket, you see the Blue Canes in Stegman Coliseum going up, Rich.
It's one of my favorite things in college basketball.
That's pretty cool, isn't it?
That snap to South Carolina, 8-0 run. Davis dials it up and knocks it down. The first 3 ball of the night for the Gamecocks.
Yeah, Zachary Davis, 6'7", 200-pound junior, probably one of the SEC's most improved players. And right now, he's got South Carolina, after all those turnovers, only down 2.
Gamecocks, no stranger to close games, and a foul is going to be called on Jamari Thomas, his first.
If you watch South Carolina and they remind you of, well, the way they play, right? They remind you of Bo Ryan's teams at Wisconsin. We know the success that Coach Lamont Paris had there every year, Sweet 16, Final Fours, championship runs, but they are physical with their bodies and they keep their hands out. So they're difficult to officiate, and I think this crew's doing an outstanding job thus far.
Blue Cane almost lost the handle. 8 on the shot clock for the Dogs. Blue's gonna have to go. Blue's got to get a clue. It's around and out. Here's a look up ahead. Good transition defense by 13 in gray, Dylan James.
Dylan James, a guy who actually had 5 blocks against St. John's earlier this season. So he's been in and out of the lineup, still trying to find his way with such a deep front line. But I like his athleticism and his motor.
30 in black, Murray Boyles back on the floor for the Gamecocks. That one's swatted away by Asa Newell.
Please welcome back to the court for the Dogs.
We talked about the fact that the front line of Georgia gave them rim protection, and that's why I think they're going to be an NCAA tournament team, right? We talked about how important this win is, but if they are able to get into the tournament, they're not going to be an easy matchup. They've got a good backcourt, and they're still young. A couple of sophomores, freshmen. They're going to continue to get better.
Pringle went down, no whistle. Transition basketball for Georgia. That is turnover number 7 for South Carolina. The hedge by Pringle, and he retreats. Now they get a switch, and it's Murray Boyles checking Asa Newell, and a foul is called on Nick Pringle, his second. And he can't believe it, and I know without seeing him that Lamont Paris, his head coach, can't believe it either.
Well, Lamont Paris is, you know, he's just trying to get a feel for this basketball game right now. And that's what I'm sure he's probably discussing. He's trying to get a feel of, you know, exactly how they're going to call it. He and Joe Lindsay having conversations.
Blue Cane off the mark with the corner 3. A chance to take a lead with a triple for the first time tonight for South Carolina. Here's Murray Boyles. Inside to Pringle. Blocked again by Newell.
Excellent defense. That was good high hands by Blue Cane, which didn't allow Nick Pringle to get the first pass. And then on the ball reversal, a nice job of Asa Newell keeping his hands up, keeping them vertical. And another block shot by Asa Newell. Outstanding defense by the Bulldogs.
That's the 3rd Georgia block shot. Second one by 14 in gray, Asa Newell. Now 5 on the shot clock for the Gamecocks. They got to go. A logo 3 from Davis off the mark. And Demery comes away with it.
Like Silas Demery at that point guard, he's able to switch and defend bigger guys because he's 6'5".
Newell showing the range. He's got some of that, but not that time. 8 minutes to go in the first half.
Yeah, that's where Asa Newell's got to continue to pick it up. Only 26% from 3, 0 of 5 last game from 3 in the Florida game. He'll continue to get better as the season goes.
20 scouts on hand from 12 different NBA franchises, in large part due to Asa Newell, but also due to that young man, Colin Murray Boyles. He's off the mark with that shot. A fresh 20 for the Gamecocks, and a whistle blows. We'll take a timeout along with both teams. It's a 2-point game in the Classic City.
Out of the last 15 seasons.
So you go from winning a national championship with the Dogs in 2021, just a couple short years later, you're playing for the big brass ring in the National Football League. Looking forward to that game coming up Sunday, February 9th. How is it Super Bowl 59 already? As if I needed another reminder that I'm getting old.
Young man.
Here in Athens, 2-point lead for the Bulldogs over the Gamecocks, 18-16. Alongside Damian Fishback, I'm Rich Hollenberg. Colin Murray Boyles bullying his way to the basket and drawing a foul on R.J. Godfrey, his first.
And as small as that seems, that's what I mean when I say Colin Murray Boyles has to be more aggressive, because him attacking the basket and getting to the free throw line is another foul on Georgia. It helps softens up their defense. And it's going to eventually allow his teammates to get better looks at the basket. Mismatch, Blue Kane. He should have stayed inside. I don't know why he's trying to go outside.
And here's Ugasu with Godfrey draped all over him. 5 on the shot clock. The one more. Wright fires a 3. Way off the mark, out of the outstretched arms of Colin Murray Boyles. And he's looking at his teammate like, hey, I was open down low.
Sure. Well, and that's part of the challenge for Colin Murray Boyles, and frankly, part of the reason why the NBA scouts still love him so much is because they realize that he doesn't have Talon Cooper and Meechie Johnson this year distributing the basketball. It's all on his shoulders.
Godfrey double teamed. Finds the open man. Nice dribble, step away, and a knockdown 3 from Silas Demery.
Had a little something to say to the Gamecock bench as well after he knocked down that shot. Silas Demery's certainly been in the gym shooting with a ton of confidence here tonight.
Demery 2 for 2 from beyond the arc, and we have another South Carolina turnover. They've missed their last 5 field goal attempts, and now they have 8 turnovers.
Well, I love when guards use the shot fake, and you see this a lot more, is the sidestep, right? We used to, when I played, we would use the shot fake and often go inside to a mid-range or try to attack the basket. The three-point shot is so lethal now, a lot of guards use the sidestep instead.
Demery, an all-freshman SEC member a year ago, stepping it up in his sophomore campaign. Had 12 on the road at Tennessee, has 6 tonight with those 2 3-pointers. Here's Godfrey, top of the key. Now LeFew. Back to Godfrey, and a foul called on Jordan Butler.
Yeah, the transfer from Missouri, Jordan Butler, still trying to figure it out. You know, he's a 4-star prospect, top 150 player, ranked number 2 in the state of South Carolina. So he used the opportunity to come back home, but he's still having to get a little bit more comfortable defensively for Lamont Paris and trying to learn his system. He's got time, though.
Only 4.5 minutes per game for number 0, Jordan Butler for the Gamecocks. Cleared by Murray Boyles. And Butler throws it away. Sloppy play plaguing the Gamecocks as it has all season long.
Well, for Lamont Paris, he's certainly handling it better than I would as a coach. But there's not a lot that really gets him going in regards to make some panic. And even with him being without a win, they're still confident. They're still fighting. The practices are still competitive. He'll get this team going in the right direction, but they've got to value the basketball more.
Demery uses the Newell screen. 10 to shoot. Now Demery working on Thomas, but can't get it to go.
He didn't make that shot, but I absolutely love that. Silas Demery is 6'5". I love him being able to take advantage of smaller guards on the block.
Now Godfrey trying to check CMB and draws the foul number 2 on R.J. Godfrey.
That's Godfrey's second and Georgia's 7th.
That's Georgia's 7th foul, so we'll be looking at free throws the rest of the way for the Gamecocks with 5:29 to go.
Yeah, and let's keep our eye on how the Gamecocks are able to proceed for the next 5 minutes, 29 seconds. Now that they're in the bonus, let's see if they softened up the Georgia Bulldog defense enough. Points have been hard to come by in this first half.
Colin Murray-Boyles leading this Gamecocks team in points, rebounds, steals, and blocks. He misses the front end of that 1-and-1. No field goals so far tonight.
Yeah, only 66% from the charity stripe, something he's got to continue to improve upon.
Demery now back out top to James. James left wide open, and you see evidence why.
I thought about it, man, but you said it.
No. 5 for 13 on the year from three-point range for Dylan James.
Well, the percentage isn't bad.
Yeah.
For Dylan James, he's just got to continue to get in there and work on it. It's the release actually is not that bad. It's the wound up, and obviously he's got to have time to wind it up and be judicious about his looks.
Yeah, 7'2" wingspan, and in a lot of ways must make it harder to shoot. Here's LeFew. And a foul is called along the baseline. That's foul number 6 on South Carolina.
First, and South Carolina will make it their 6th.
Now let's take a look on this out-of-bounds play, see if there's kind of a screen and re-screen with something either going to the basket or a pass that allows something opposite of the inbounds pass. Keep your eye on Blue Kane here over in the corner if you get help by Zachary Davis.
Got to get it in. They do to Newell. Coming up on 5 minutes to go in the first half.
Got the mismatch inside.
James fires from 3 again, and he uses the backboard.
See, Rich, he heard you. He even has to smile, though. He didn't call glass.
The smooch from Dylan James. Ugasu, short. And LeFew comes away with it. And Blue Kane like he was shot out of a cannon. Lost it out of bounds. It'll stay Georgia basketball. Georgia has led the entire game. South Carolina cut it to 2, and now they've extended that lead back to 8.
Look at these percentages now, Rich. 6 of 14 on the year. 6 of 14. A couple more makes it, get 50%.
Get him some more touches, Mike White.
You know, you love to see players like Dylan James because he hasn't had a lot of minutes, but he continues to keep a good mindset and attitude.
That's a good teammate. Asa Newell can't get it to go. Worked hard for it. There's James again, this time underneath.
A top 100 prospect, rated number 78 by 247sports.com in the class of 2023, and that's not going against just anybody. That's going against Colin Murray-Boyles. And Dylan James, you talked about his wingspan, 6'9", 210 pounds. Again, he is a testament to the depth that Florida has in their front line.
Dylan James came in averaging just 2.6 points a game. If he gets this bucket here on the free throw, he's more than doubled his season average. And he's got it. 6 points for James. The lead is 11 now for the Bulldogs.
Yeah. Bulldogs with 8 second chance points. Let's see if South Carolina can get something going offensively here.
Conyers, aggressive. Tough two, and Arden Conyers will go to the line and shoot a pair.
Directed toward Georgia's Dylan James.
As Arden Conyers gets ready to go to the line, we want to remind you women's college basketball Sunday on the SEC Network, featuring 5 top 15 teams. That starts at noon Eastern. Number 2, South Carolina hosting Auburn. 7th ranked LSU hosting Mississippi State. Number 12, Kentucky taking on number 13, OU. And the day capped off by number 5, Texas and Texas A&M.
What an action-packed day. You talk about Don Staley, one of the better games we've seen all year. The LSU Tigers versus the South Carolina Gamecocks. It was worth the price of admission, and they just continue to dominate teams. I think it's 12th or 13th double-digit victory. And the fact that you can never beat them at home. I think it's 69 or 70 in a row at home.
And Kim Mulkey's team was, I believe, the last unbeaten team in women's college basketball.
Absolutely. And they're not going anywhere.
People talk about men's basketball in the SEC being loaded. Take a look at the women's side of things.
No doubt.
Just as talented.
I like this matchup here.
James feeling it and getting it.
Yeah. So Mike White has found something. Because of their length, they can use ball screens to get the matchups that they want and go inside with multiple weapons.
Nice cut, blocked by James. He's doing everything. Dylan James showing the repertoire fish.
Yeah, Winter Haven, Florida sophomore, 6'9", 210 pounds with the jump hook over the left-hand shoulder. And then, get this out of here, Mr. Davis. This is my house. LSU, I think, is a team that actually could play Auburn well this week. They really showed me a lot on the road at Alabama. They're a young team. They've got athleticism. They've got speed. But to answer your question, all 3 of these teams have opportunities to turn it around. But I think LSU has the biggest upside, and that's hard to believe with the Hall of Famer Coach Cal at Arkansas.
Demery cans the first. He has 7. Good balanced scoring for the Georgia Bulldogs tonight. Dylan James, of all people, leading the way with 8. But Silas Demery now with 7, looking for 8. Obviously, Asa Newell had 6 early points as well.
Well, right now, what we've seen from Georgia is their depth and their balance. They have gotten contributions from everybody, right? LeFew, who started the game. Silas Demery has 8 points. Dylan James with 8 off of the bench. Newell, and now they're back into their pressure. I like what Coach Mike White is doing tonight.
They have their largest lead of the night, 31-18. Inside, Pringle working on Surreal, and he can't get it to go.
Yeah, well, Pringle's got to give him more. 6'10", 225-pound graduate senior.
Demery blocked at the rim by Murray Boyles. There's some of that Gamecocks defense showing up. Tipped away, out of bounds. It'll stay South Carolina ball. South Carolina's missed their last 8 field goal attempts.
Yeah, and listen, we've got to give Georgia credit. They're a really good defensive team. But when you have 9 turnovers in the first half, you're probably going to have 18 to 20 points. They've got to get looks, and there's another one.
That's a home run pass and an easy 2 for Silas Demery. He leads all scorers now in the first to double digits.
Lamont Paris kind of just letting his team work through it. I've seen coaches do this before. They're just watching, seeing what their team's made of.
Murray Boyles, we know what he's made of. And his first field goal of the night, 4 points now for Colin Murray Boyles, the leading scorer for the Gamecocks.
Yeah, that was a set play where he got the defense lifted on the opposite side so that he could throw that lob to the opposite side for Colin Murray Boyles.
Demery, the lob to James, now to Surreal, and he missed the bunny.
Plenty of time here for the Gamecocks to try to close this gap, maybe to single digits.
Deep three, Davis off to the right. Surreal snares it, and elbows are flying in the paint.
Yeah, Sumpto Surreal and Nick Pringle going at it inside. Two big guys.
It's like King Kong and Godzilla. Here's James. Ten on the shot clock for the Dogs. Trying to add to their largest lead of the night. LeFew one-on-one. Too strong. It goes on top of the backboard, and it'll be South Carolina ball.
You know, if I were to tell Lamont Paris that you were going to have 9 turnovers, but you'd still be within striking distance with 1:17 left to go, I think he'd probably take it. On the other side, for Coach Mike White, I think they've played a sensational first half. Defensively, they've been spot on, and a team who had 18 turnovers only has 3 in this first half. You do not want to allow your foot to go off the gas pedal, though.
Dylan James checks out. Asa Newell back on the floor for Mike White. And you just heard Joe Lindsay tell us the previous play will be under review with 1:17 to go.
Thought we were going to get out of the first half without a review, Rich.
When was the last time that happened,
Man! I'm not sure what they're going to look at here. Maybe something on the rebound or maybe the previous play, because Lamont Paris was talking about the swinging of the elbows. Remember you said elbows flying? Or maybe it was on the rebound. We're unsure, but we know we've got a great crew, and they'll come over and tell us. Joe Lindsay, Olandis Poole, and Lee Cassell.
That's Lee Cassell on the left, Olandis Poole on the right. Check that. That's Joe Lindsay with the headset on for Olandis Poole. And here's what we're talking about. Nick Pringle hit Surreal, Surreal hit Pringle.
After review, incidental contact.
And it is ruled incidental contact. I found it fascinating, our conversation with Lamont Paris, when he was talking about the quality of officiating and how high it is in the SEC, and yet he feels like it could be a disservice to the teams when they enter postseason play because of how many times the whistles are put away in SEC play.
Yeah, and listen, it's been a long time. It's been since 2012, Coach Cal, he's going back to Rupp Arena. I think Kentucky fans need to remember that. He's the last one to win a national championship in the SEC. And one of the reasons has been because of the inability, maybe, of the SEC teams to adapt. You've got to be able to adapt, but I think the officiating is just fine. It'll continue to get better as the season goes on. But it's a hard league to officiate because of the athletes and the physicality.
Lots of teams really good at steals and blocks and playing defense with their hands. We've seen some of that tonight. A lot of toughness on display as well.
That's
Newell. That is so good.
Well, you're great players, not just you're great players who know how to get to their spots on the floor. So he's gotten there via the pass and now off of the bounce. That's really impressive.
And that is his office. 8 points now for Asa Newell. Colin Murray Boyles tried to answer with a thunderous dunk, and he'll go to the line instead.
This is what I mean, Rich. You see, there's plenty of people surrounding him, but he doesn't get bothered because there's a sense there that the help isn't coming. And so he's able to use his body and the bounce to get exactly where he wanted to go on the floor for that jump hook.
So many good freshmen playing in college basketball, but among major conference freshmen, Asa Newell is #1 in offensive rebounds, #2 in field goal percentage, 8th in scoring, and 7th overall in rebounds per game. Quite simply, he's one of the best youngsters in all of college basketball.
Sure. And you wonder why people still aren't talking about him more. I think that, the national media is talking about him a little bit more, but we all talk about Trey Johnson, rightfully so. Tahad Pettiford now getting his flowers. Jeremiah Fears at Oklahoma. People were talking about him earlier. LeBaron Philon. But Asa Newell has certainly got to be at the top of the conversation.
Projected first-round pick, Asa Newell, hometown kid. Spent his formative years here in Athens.
Yeah.
ate meals at Bolton, learned how to swim on campus with his brother Jaden.
He had moved to Florida when he was 10, but found a way to come back home. And I think that was strategic and intelligent by Coach Mike White and his staff, bringing Jaden Newell, his brother, on right there.
Jaden's a redshirt sophomore, and I feel like almost every post-game press conference you hear Mike White talk about Jaden Newell being one of those culture guys, one of those team-first guys that is every bit as valuable as anybody else on this roster to the Bulldogs' success.
Yeah, we know their grandmother works at the president's office, and that's how they built the relationship with Georgia University.
Well, that brings an end to the first half. Asa Newell had a good one. 8 first-half points for the freshman to go along with 7 rebounds. He's on track for his 5th double-double of the season, but it's been balanced scoring for the Dogs. They have their largest lead of the night, 35-21, as we send things to Dari Noka for the halftime report.
All right, Rich, good stuff, brother. Fish, yeah, good to have you too, man. No. Fish giving the very good answer to your question earlier. We got PY and Slay in here as well. It is tough, right? I feel bad for Lamont Paris right now, given the phenomenal season that they're coming off of. They've been close in a lot of games. This one has looked and felt different almost from the get-go. They can't get out of their own way.
Yeah, Slay and I were talking about it earlier, Dari. It's just, to get your heart taken out that many times, like you start to possibly get a little numb, start maybe thinking, oh man, we really are our record. That's who, like, I don't think South Carolina is, truly 0-7. They've been so close in all these games. Yeah. But you want to see your team respond, still continue. Because in life, hard stuff happens. And guess what? The world keeps moving forward and you have to figure it out. And this is going to be a great lesson for Coach Lamont Paris to get his guys going.
Yeah, you think about the way they lost those games. A lot of it came down to paying attention to details. You go on the road right here and have 10 turnovers. That's not boding well for you going forward, especially with Georgia. The way that Coliseum segment has been rocking as of late, they feed off of that. So Georgia's doing what they're supposed to do.
Silas Demery, 10 points to this particular point. And Asa Newell went off a game that it wasn't his best game, obviously, at Florida. Nice bounce back in the first half for them as well. So it's a 14-point lead, Georgia over South Carolina. Another game going on right now. We've been keeping you posted on it, but here you go. Tennessee taking on Kentucky.
Chaz!
Yeah, they
bounced back from Chaz.
Kentucky's lost 2 straight. Tennessee has lost 2 out of 3. There goes Zakai Ziegler. That's his only 2.
Give him the body, Z.
More on him in just a moment. Then Jackson Robinson for Kentucky. They have shot well. 7 of 16 from outside. He's hit 3 of his 7. Kentucky built a nice chunky lead. They were up 30-22 at one point. Zakai Ziegler, though, this is where it gets scary. Yes, Tennessee went on an 11-0 run to end the half. They've got a 3-point lead. But Ziegler left the game. Molly McGrath at halftime with Rick Barnes.
Coach, what can you tell us about the injury to Zakai?
I don't know. For him to run off the court, it worries me because I've never seen him do that, and I would expect him to bounce right back up, but it's something for him to do that. Worried about it, really, but proud of the way we fought back here. We're a hard team to guard, and start of the game, we gave them looks that I couldn't even imagine on my worst night that we'd give them, but fact is, offensively, we weren't very good, but another half to play.
That is the good news is they're up 3. The bad news is we don't know what's happening with Zakai Ziegler, and you see something like that. That's not the Zakai we know. That is not the Zakai we know. It seems that there may be something there.
Yeah, you look at it, me and PY both have had ACL injuries, and it's a lot of times you go through it and it's a scare immediately. But for him to bounce back up, that right there is a good sign. You just don't know with him not coming back. Hopefully it's just something minor where he scared himself more so than anything else.
Yeah, those hyperextensions are so interesting, and that's seeing what I've done that quite a few times, and guys pop up all the time, and it can still be a major injury, but you don't want to speculate. But my thing with Zakai, like my first year with the network was his freshman year, so even though he's a volunteer, I respect so much how he plays, how he carries himself. Like he is probably in my heart, my number 2 volunteer of all time. my number two. You know, I got you, bro. You know I got you.
No question.
By the way, for just more of what he means to the team, one more point, and he'll be the second player in SEC history with 1,300 points, 600 assists, and 200 steals. 1,300, 600, 200 steals. The only other one, guy that played alongside our guy, the shooter, Kareem Reed, is the only other one that's done it.
What's an assist?
No,
Nice.
Black hole down there, baby. He's getting it back.
Do you know?
Oh, no, I wouldn't. You can't get it.
Neither one of you guys know?
You can get SEC player. You're trying to get
If the double team comes, the double team comes.
accept it.
Tennessee, they come in, they've lost 2 out of their last 3. Look at the shooting.
Yeah.
In the last couple of games has not been good. Now, again, these numbers take into account an 11-0 run to end the first half. But is this just, you're talking about shooting is contagious? Does it get contagious going the wrong way as well? Is it just this happens in a season? How do you describe
When
it?
you look at Tennessee, they're shooting good shots. Teams go through slumps. All of those shots that they're missing, well, a lot of the shots that they're missing are open shots.
Yeah.
Some going in and out, some in the other side of the backboard. So it's one of those things, man. You need to see one go in and then you play off.
Yeah, and we've seen in the, Gainey, Meshack, Chaz Lanier, they're all capable. They just have to find that rhythm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're up, again, all that, and they're still up 3.
One
against the
turnover,
Kentucky
Dari, that's
team.
one
That'll
turnover.
do it.
Yeah.
I mean, that'll, right? Mm-hmm. Wow. All right, Dylan James taking over the first half for Georgia, who's got a 2-touchdown lead on Cochran.
South Carolina to just 6 field goals made. Those 10 turnovers from the Gamecocks, that department has haunted them all season, and it has shown itself again. 10 turnovers for Lamont Paris's South Carolina team, who has never led in this game. Georgia went 4 for 9 from 3, 5 for 6 from the free throw stripe, and overall dominating first half for Georgia, and it's South Carolina with control to start the second half. Nick Pringle going aggressively to the hole, missing it. South Carolina gets a fresh 20. And Murray Boyles off the mark on the 3-ball attempt.
Well, you could tell Lamont Paris came out and wanted to get the veteran Nick Pringle involved. He was just a little too strong. I think he expected more contact that he got.
Just 1 for 8 now for South Carolina from distance. Here's Newell. 8 points, 7 boards, 3 blocks, and now give him an assist. He put on the dime goggles there.
Nice job of Dakota LeFew really reading the high side, which is what South Carolina tries to defend, and using the backdoor cut to make himself available.
An all-around excellent first 20-plus minutes for Asa Newell. Inside, Pringle forces it up and in.
Yeah, he's got to finish. He came from Alabama to South Carolina to do more offensively as a big guy. He's got the opportunity. He needs to do it.
Returning to his home state, key piece to that Bama Final Four team a year ago. Godfrey. They swing it around to Blue Kane. Off the mark, offensive rebound to Godfrey. And a foul drawn on South Carolina.
Dakota LeFew, number 1 for the Georgia Bulldogs, does a nice job of reading the defense. They try to really defend him on the high side, which is how he got open. Good vision as well by the Bulldogs.
So Mike White pushing some buttons, starting a new starting 5 by inserting Dakota LeFew into the lineup for the first time this season, and so far so good. Godfrey off the mark on that first free throw. Mike White, everywhere he's been a head coach, Louisiana Tech, followed by Florida, and now Georgia, he has been a turnaround superstar. The teams that he takes over do not take long to get in the win column.
Yeah, you think about those three programs, Louisiana Tech, Florida, Georgia, all losing programs when he came into it, believe it or not, with the legendary Billy Donovan, who's still a phenomenal coach, and Tom Crean, who I thought was an outstanding coach. Just didn't work out for him for multiple reasons here at Georgia, but he'll get back into it. But ended up putting all three of those programs into the top 25. I think that's spectacular.
Good hands by the Georgia defense, forcing another South Carolina turnover. See if they can turn it into points, and instead, they return the favor and turn it over.
So two different mindsets here. For Georgia, you don't want to give the Gamecocks any life. You want to make sure you not only keep this a double-digit lead, but try to extend that lead. You even want to win the second half. For South Carolina, you want to chip away in 4-minute segments and see if you can get this lead down to single digits by the time you get to the, say, 10 or 11-minute mark.
And that lead has just been cut to 12 after that Jamari Thomas triple. Just the second three-pointer tonight, Fish, for South Carolina.
Rich, you could tell what he brings to the table with the 19-point outing versus Mississippi State. He's still got to get his win back, get comfortable, but he's somebody that will be at the top of scouting reports as the season goes on.
Here's Blue Kane. A little too much dribbling, almost lost the handle, 10 on the timer. LeFew pulls up for three.
Pretty. Had 19, 20-point career games, and he's a guy who I think is getting more comfortable every time he steps in between the line, which is why Coach Mike White put him into the starting lineup tonight.
Pringle weaving his way under the basket, draws the foul, and Nick Pringle will go to the line and shoot a pair.
My guess is that Lamont Paris said something to Nick Pringle at the half in regards to, you've been to a Final Four, Nick. You're a veteran, and you're going up against a freshman. There's no way you shouldn't be able to impose your will on this young man, especially if you want the opportunity to play once you leave South Carolina. And I think Nick Pringle, in the first 3 or 4 minutes, has responded.
Paris exhorting his troops. Pringle only had 5 points against Mississippi State last time out, but he had a season-high 12 rebounds. Now he has 6 points against the Dogs.
Rich, when I went to see practices throughout the country, the first thing I said to Lamont Paris is, your front line ought to be able to compete with anybody in the country. And that's because of what I felt like Nick Pringle would bring to the table. He's got to continue to give them more for them to compete in this league.
LeFew thought about the logo three, takes it, and it's off to the right.
Nice rebound that time by Pringle. See if they can get some push here for the Gamecocks.
Thomas with the step back three. Back-to-back threes for Jamari Thomas.
We said single digits by the 10 or 11-minute mark. They could get it way before then. Georgia needs to respond and go back where their bread is buttered in the interior.
A little 5-0 spurt by the Gamecocks. And a foul called on the other side. We have a timeout on the floor. 15:58 to go. Georgia with a 10-point lead. Gamecocks chipping away.
Made this game a little bit more interesting.
Yeah, you mentioned 4-minute segments, right? When you're trailing by double digits. So far in the first 4 minutes of the second half, they've outscored Georgia 10-6. You got to count the wins, Fish. You got to count the wins. Godfrey good on the first of 2 free throw attempts. Friday night gymnastics. We have a doubleheader on the SEC Network and the ESPN app. Number 14 Alabama taking on number 12 Georgia Gym Dogs at 7 Eastern. Then number 3 LSU hosting number 9 Mizzou at the Maravich Center in Baton Rouge. Should be another exciting night of SEC gymnastics on Friday Night Heights.
Yeah, you saw the banners hanging here for the Georgia Bulldogs. All 4 of those teams competing for championships, and we mean national championships.
Here's Murray Boyles, double teamed in the post. Gets it out, 8 on the shot clock. Zach Davis calls his own number. off the back iron, rebounded by Silas Demery, who had 10 points in the first half.
Sorry, Rich. That was outstanding defense by the Bulldogs. They double-teamed, forced Colin Murray Boyles to throw the basketball out, contest, and limited the Gamecocks to one shot.
Number 7 for Georgia, Tyron Lawrence, normally a starter, back on the floor now for Mike White.
Switch inside. R.J. Godfrey's got a mismatch. If they can get it to him, they switch back.
4 on the timer. LeFew, the floater. And a foul called on the floor. It's going the other way.
Foul directed toward Georgia's Dylan James.
That's going to be on Dylan James, his second foul.
Like the pressure by LeFew. Never want to just allow a team to feel comfortable with all 94 feet.
Right inside, Murray Boyles pays it off.
Too easy that time. Dribble drive, one of the most devastating moves in all of basketball, and that time just not doing a good job of keeping the ball in front of them.
So now 7, 3 rebounds, and 3 dimes for Colin Murray Boyles tonight. That one's good. The floater falls for Demery. He's got a dozen.
Really good. He reminds me of Chaz Lanier, his ability to come off of curls and use his big, wide body and get the defender on his side to get where he wants to go in the paint.
That's high praise. And that one's picked off by LeFew. A dozen South Carolina turnovers.
Well, they had 25, I think, 25 versus the Commodores. They can't have another night like that and expect to win, especially on the road.
And they barely lost that game. Another throwdown. It's the Dylan James show, brother. They call them the Dunkyard Dogs, and you just saw evidence why. That shot is short. Here's Thomas in takeover mode. Conyers, checked by James. Nowhere to go. Great defense from number 13. And now he's first to the floor for the loose ball. Jump ball, it'll be possession arrow, Georgia. And Dylan James is putting on a show.
Dylan James felt the body of Colin Murray Boyles and just spun off of him. See, boom, real quick. And then after that, you can tell the young man wants more minutes. There's a loose ball. Remember this, young fellas and ladies, the first to the floor always wins when it comes to the loose ball. Dylan James was that man, and looks like they're going to review maybe the jump ball, time on the floor, not sure, we'll see.
They did call it a jump ball, which would mean possession arrow to the Georgia Bulldogs. Back to Dylan James, his 4th career double-digit point outing. He has 10. His season high is 13. His career high is 14. He's 2nd leading scorer in this game, but he's 1st on the team in floor burns at this point.
Yeah, I always like to remind people that success is where preparation and opportunity meet one another. So Dylan James is not just doing this tonight. This is something that he's been continuing to elevate his game for and competing for day in and day out in practice.
Call on the floor has been confirmed. It has not been a shot clock violation. It will be a jump ball. Georgia will have possession of the ball.
Got it. So Coach Mike White was probably wanting to salvage the fact that the jump ball would have came to them later, but they did confirm that it was not a shot clock violation. So the jump ball was confirmed, and Georgia will receive the ball. Next jump ball will go to the South Carolina Gamecocks.
What a night for Dylan James. You can make the argument it's the best overall game he's played in a Georgia Bulldog uniform. The sophomore out of Winter Haven, Florida. And he's earned these extra minutes on the floor in the second half against South Carolina.
And really made a push last year. He's a guy that I think is like Blue Kane, Silas Demery, who was able to learn from that run through the NIT. And so as they continue to gain more experience, they gain more confidence. And I think number 6 for Georgia needs to gain more confidence as well. He's going to be a big piece as this season moves forward.
Talking about Santos Surreal, he's on the floor right now. The big man in the middle for Mike White. 14-point Dogs lead. They have never trailed in the game. Jamari Thomas gets fouled on the three-point attempt. And that's going to go on Dakota LeFew. The Cardinals sit.
Yeah, and Dakota LeFew trying to look up to the monitor that's here in Stegman Coliseum. And felt like that Jamari Thomas kicked his leg out, which he did. But as a defender with the jump shooter, you don't even want to get close to him. You want to jump either by the shooter or jump straight up.
Thomas, a 68% free throw shooter, knocks down the first of 3. He has 10 for the Gamecocks. .11 now for Thomas, the first Gamecock in double digits. Again, this is the worst scoring team in the SEC. They have yet to put up a 70-piece in SEC play. Right now, they're more than halfway there with 12:45 to go in the second half.
Well, you look at Thomas, and you know he averaged 17 points at Norfolk State, so you don't want to allow a score like that to get going.
Six to shoot. A little too much dribbling from Dakota LeFew. It's knocked out of bounds, and now 4.6 on the time.
But the good news, if you're Coach Mike White, they did not turn over the basketball. Only 5 turnovers in this basketball game after 18 at Florida. He has to be happy with the way they've taken care of the basketball.
3 to shoot. Lawrence forces it up. It hits the rim, and guess who with the offensive rebound? Dylan James grabs it, and a timeout called. So it'll be Georgia basketball when we come back. 12:10 to go. Mike White's club, bolstered by the reserve, Dylan James. Leader is in NBA history. That's Steph Curry. That's easy. But if you want to impress your friends, ask them who the number 8 all-time three-point shooter in NBA history is. Now we know the answer. It's Kyle Korver.
Ooh, man, you got nuggets for days.
Lawrence, nice take out of the timeout.
Nice set call that time by Mike White for 2 reasons. One, just to make a basket, but also to get Tyron Lawrence going a little bit.
Here's Murray Boyles. He's been held in check tonight. Inside. Here's the matchup we've looked forward to. CMB working on Asa Newell off the window.
That's what you got to do if you're Colin Murray Boyles. Your team needs you. You got to earn your money. Like Rick Barnes said, you got to continue to attack the basket until they send the double team early. Something surreal came a little late that time.
First in the conference in field goal percentage, second in rebounding. Colin Murray Boyles, he has 9 tonight. Here's Newell going right back at him. The left hand is good. What a soft southpaw touch.
That shows you something about Asa Newell. He could have went with his right hand, but came back to the right shoulder. He loves going to his left.
A rebound and 1 and done for the Gamecocks. The lead, a baker's dozen for the Dogs. Georgia looking to snap a 4-game losing streak. Here's the steal by Colin Murray Boyles. Puts it in spin cycle and gives it up. So give him the dime and give Arden Conyers the bucket, but he comes up gimpy. Looked like Conyers might have got a little bit of a shot to the nether regions.
All men can relate.
LeFew dribbles right through the South Carolina defense for an easy 2. He's in double digits.
Yeah, he's going to stay in that starting lineup. He is another player who can put the defense at a disadvantage. And when I say that, you want that broken floor, have someone offensively who can get by his man.
3-ball attempt, short. The tap by Blue Cane, but it goes off Surreal out of bounds. It'll be South Carolina basketball when we return to Athens. Asa Newell putting on a show tonight.
Yeah, this is what I mean, Combs. He could have went right, but instead spins away, back to that right shoulder with the soft left jump hook. It's really hurt him. It's good to have Thomas back in the lineup.
A 15-win turnaround from 2 years ago to last year. 7 road wins in the SEC a year ago. And man, would he love his first SEC win this year to come right now on the road in Athens. But his team is down 13 with 9:45 to go. Davis, little sidestep 3, too strong, and it's one and done. The rebound to Demery.
Yeah, those are the kind you need to have. Davis shoots about 31% from the three-point line this year, only 25% over his career, though.
Surreal, freshman to fellow big man freshman Asa Newell.
Nice
goes
job.
Out of bounds.
Well, that's what you want to do with bigs. You want to make them, it's almost like you want to pester the guys, right? So even though they didn't do a good job of preventing the pass, they made sure that he felt them the entire time.
Here's Ugasu. He's been quiet tonight. Lee Cassell says, foul called along the baseline. And if that's on Newell, that's number 3. An all-around excellent night for number 14 in gray, Asa Newell. 10.7 rebounds, 2 assists, and 3 block shots.
Yeah, apparently the 21st pick in our ESPN 2025 mock draft.
Nice left-handed layup by Zachary Davis. First 2 points of the second half for him.
Yeah, almost got the steal on the inbound pass as well. I like the pressure by South Carolina.
And Jamari Thomas just ran into a brick wall named Samto Surreal. Here's Lawrence, guarded by Conyers. They switch. Lawrence to Newell. 5 on the shot clock, and it's good. A dozen now for Asa Newell.
Well, after this game, I guarantee you people are going to start sitting on Asa Newell's right shoulder. But for this game, he's going there anytime that he wants.
Thomas tried to leave it for Bosman's Verdonk, and it goes out of bounds. It'll stay South Carolina basketball.
And this is what I mean. You see Asa Newell get down there. Once again, he could have went right. Actually, good help on that right shoulder, but he's just so talented. He's so athletic and quick with excellent footwork.
Well-read, articulate, soft-spoken young man. Asa Newell would be a success whatever he chose to do.
I would agree.
Lucky for the Bulldogs, it happens to be basketball. Here's Ugasu. 2 on the shot clock, and it goes off Zachary Davis, out of bounds, turnover, number 13 for the Gamecocks, and it's a 13-point lead for the Dogs.
You see the 7 rebounds, both of them really walking double-double guys. I would say that Asa Newell has more help around him from the perimeter and has played much better. And I think Colin Murray-Boyles just has to be more assertive. That's probably what the scouts would say. There's, what, 20 on hand tonight?
20 on hand from 12 different NBA franchises. Kyle Korver, who played part of his NBA career with the Hawks, now working in the scouting department for Atlanta. By the way, I appreciate what you said about left-handers. I could speak for all Southpaws when I say, we agree with you, Damian Fishback. Here's Jamari Thomas. He's provided most of the offense tonight for South Carolina. Ugasuk out to Thomas for three, and he's got it. Third three of the night for Jamari Thomas.
Huge look. Let's see if South Carolina goes back to their matchup zone. It's really a 1-3-1. Mike White did prepare his team for it at the shoot-around. And we know Lamont Paris has used that to get back into and win quite a few games during his time in the SEC.
They did that last year inside Stegman Coliseum and walked out with a win, did the Gamecocks. That three is good from Asa Newell, showing off the range.
Yeah, Asa Newell wasn't here last year, though. Big difference.
Thomas turns the corner, got partially blocked, no whistle, but 2 points for Jamari Thomas, gives him a game-high 17.
And Lamont Paris really wanted a foul that time. Felt like Asa Newell ran into the back of Thomas. And they jumped back into the 1-3-1 zone. Georgia really handling it fairly well.
Newell, push shot, no. And Bosman's Verdonk snares the rebound.
Yeah, Asa Newell that time was trying to decide if he wanted to kind of shoot the floater or shoot a regular jump shot. Got caught in between.
Davis blocked by Dylan James. The block party continues.
Oh,
here's Newell. All alone.
Play of the night, Rich. I got too excited, man. I didn't even let you call it. I feel him.
The Spike Squad.
It came out of
Loves
nowhere,
it.
right?
Oh, man. I think even Asa was surprised. Thomas trying to single-handedly keep the Gamecocks in this game. And there's Newell on the deck. Jump ball, it'll be Gamecocks basketball with 5:07 to go. Let's see this one again.
Yeah, it's certainly the play of the game. It looked like he was trapped, nowhere to go, but Dakota LeFew with the pass of the week. My goodness, nice bounce pass right into the hands of 6'11", 220-pound freshman Asa Newell.
That is Dakota LeFew's fourth assist tonight to go along with 10 points in his first start of the season. He was a habitual starter with Mount St. Mary's last year, but came off the bench for the first time tonight. Apparently, that starter's role appeals to him.
You think?
Ball is out. The call on the court is...
The officials conferring. They're saying jump ball. And I would think that would be Georgia basketball. And it is.
The original call on the court is jump ball.
Landis Poole and Lamont Paris having a heated conversation, but still maintaining respect.
That one tapped away by Davis. He's on the leak out. And he misses. Good transition defense by LeFew, not giving up on the play. Kane all alone. Blue for three.
There go those Blue Canes.
Thomas, no. The rebound to Newell.
Yeah, starting to remind me of the Oklahoma game where it was a 5-6 point game on the road for South Carolina late in the second half and got away. Porter Moser doing a nice job at Oklahoma this year. And right now, Stegman Coliseum starting to heat up a little bit.
Here's Newell with the ball. He's one rebound away from a double-double. 4 on the shot clock. Nowhere to go, guarded by Pringle. Here's James. He puts it up. And with the night that Dylan James is having, you would have thought that that was
to go in, didn't you?
Definite jump shot.
Well, now the clock is starting to create problems for South Carolina. A lot of time, but you got to get hot defensively.
Tough two by Colin Murray-Boyle. He is now finally in double digits with 11. Well, break out the blue canes, Dogs fans.
When he makes shots like this, we got to call him Blue Candy Cane. Nice shot, young fella.
Vegas.
Love that opportunity to see two teams get up and down, Auburn and LSU. Cam Carter against Janai Broome, Chad Baker-Mazara, and then for Alabama, Coach Nate Oates said the response in practice was excellent by Mark Sears. They've got everything going in the right direction, but when you face Coach Chris Jans and the Mississippi State Bulldogs, it's always a tough battle.
South Carolina already lost twice to Mississippi State. Their most recent loss, a 5-point heartbreaker in overtime. And speaking of Alabama, that's the next contest for these Georgia Bulldogs. They go to Titletown to take on the Crimson Tide, and then they're back here against LSU and the aforementioned Mississippi State Bulldogs.
So Coach Lamont Paris called that timeout, realizing the lack of possessions left in this basketball game. They want to try to extend the game. They're extending their pressure. They're going to need some help from Georgia, who's been turnover prone. And there is a 5-second call by Orlandis Poole.
So that's a Georgia turnover. That's number 9 tonight.
So you've got Mike White working Joe Lindsay at one end and Lamont Paris working Orlandis Poole at the other.
No surprise there,
for their teams.
Here's Thomas. He's been the top scorer.
You've got to find Colin Murray-Boyle. He's on the block against the guard and Silas Jimmy.
Thomas for 3, no. There he is, CMB with the offensive board. Back out. In and out. And a big rebound for Newell. He's got a double-double, his 5th of the season. And I should mention this now before another potential Georgia turnover. They have 9 tonight. That's the number that Mike White told us. He said, wouldn't it be great to have an SEC game where we only commit something like 9 turnovers?
7 to 9 turnovers, yeah.
There's Demery in amongst the trees, out of bounds. And it is going to be South Carolina basketball.
You know, number 23 for South Carolina that took that last jump shot as a 4-star prospect, just went in and out. He can do some things offensively.
Oh, my goodness. Colin Murray-Boyles with an exclamation point of a 2. And now some pressure from the Gamecocks. Georgia practiced against this today in shoot-around. They get it all alone to Blue Cane for an easy.
There you go, Blue Cane. And there they go. Excellent job of handling the pressure. That might be the play of the game.
The Dunkyard Dogs are at it again. And CMB tried for back-to-back thunderous dunks. He'll go to the line instead.
I love it when Colin Murray-Boyles is aggressive, 6'8", 240 pounds. That's how you attack the rim, big fella. And then against the pressure, Asa Newell, good composure. I love how the ball was popping, and Blue Cane certainly deserved that finish. And we saw Jaden Newell on the sideline, the brother of Asa Newell, celebrating. Great teammate.
Here's Murray-Boyles at the line. This is the first of 2. Friday night gymnastics, we have a doubleheader on the SEC Network and the ESPN app. Number 14, Alabama, taking on number 12, Georgia at 7 Eastern. Number 3, LSU, hosting number 9, Missouri after that. And it should be another exciting night of SEC gymnastics on Friday Night Heights. So the dunk show continues in the Classic City. Georgia Bulldogs, 6th in the nation in dunk percentage. Cincinnati's the best at about 18%. The Bulldogs dunk about 15% of their field goals made, and Asa Newell has had his fair share of dunks tonight.
And as you watch these highlights, Rich, I want to remind you that the young man is 6'11", 220 pounds. Look at his mobility. Look at his versatility, his ability to knock down the 3-point jump jump shot, I think, is what will take him to an even higher level. His athleticism has been outstanding. You can see why the scouts love him. His 5th double-double on the season, and I think what's most impressive are those 3 blocks, because the rim protection that he gives Georgia will only elevate the defense. Him, along with Sumpto Surreal and Dylan James tonight, giving that type of rim protection gets them into an exciting opportunity for the NCAA tournament.
And Fish, you and I both touched on it earlier. He grew up in Athens until he was about 10 years old. His grandma, Jacqueline Mitchell, his great-grandmother, Eileen Breedlove, both worked on the UGA campus here in Athens. So he and his brother Jaden swam at Ramsey Swimming Pool. They ate at Bolton. They took piano lessons on campus. This is their original, as the kids say, their OG homestead.
And they've always had that hair. And right now, obviously, Lamont Paris, he's called this timeout. He's trying to extend the game as long as possible. They're going to need some help from Georgia, but Georgia has proven in the past that they can turn over the basketball, so I respect them trying to extend the basketball game.
Bulldogs just a little over 2 minutes away from icing this game and snapping a 4-game win streak. Tyron Lawrence on the deck, and it's a jump ball. It'll be possession arrow Dogs. You know, you talk about Georgia basketball and Asa Newell being the latest prized recruit. He's the 3rd highest rated recruit ever to come from to Athens. Obviously, Anthony Edwards, he's averaging 26 a game for the T-Wolves in the NBA. Lou Williams, the 2nd highest rated. And I know you know this because you've been around this league for so long. Most people in the know say, if Georgia basketball could just build a fence around their home state,
oh my goodness,
they would be a force in college basketball for years. All 3 of those dudes are from the state of Georgia.
Sure. And Mike White has done a much better job of that. Bruce Pearl mentioned before coming to play Georgia here in Stegman Coliseum that a lot of the guys that they typically were able to get, they could not get anymore. Georgia had committed to the NIL. The administration had committed to back Coach Mike White, and that's one of the reasons why you've seen the turn. Another turnover by the Gamecocks. Wow.
I guess you would call that an unforced error, but there was pressure applied by the Georgia defense.
Well, it's just a turnover you can't have if you're Lamont Paris, and he's frustrated because his system has been proven to work. We saw that last year. We know the success that they had, multiple NCAA tournaments, Sweet 16s, Final Four runs, championship runs under Bo Ryan at Wisconsin. So it's frustrating for him to see these careless turnovers because that's not part of his system's DNA.
Demery the inbounds to Lawrence. Now under 2 minutes to go. Georgia's never trailed in this one. They're up by a baker's dozen now. And that's a steal by the Gamecocks defense. And an easy 2 for Conyers.
And now you start to get concerned if you're Coach Mike White. And he worked with his guys on press offense today. He had his guys more than prepared. He prepared them for the zone of the 1-3-1. He's putting them in difficult situations in practice, which is why they've done a better job of taking care of the basketball.
And they worked on this press. And now a foul is called as they attempt to break the press. That's the 5th foul on South Carolina. Let's take a look at the Georgia balance scoring tonight. 17 for Newell to lead the way, but Demery in double digits. So is Dylan James and Dakota LaFew, who made his first start of the season. They have the defense that could cause other teams problems. If they get some more offense, this team could be trouble come March.
Absolutely. And another turnover, which reminds you of what you saw in the first half versus Florida on the road. They just didn't give themselves a chance because of their turnovers. 18 for the game, and now Mike White is getting frustrated because his team, who he's worked on all week is acting like they've never seen a press defense full court before.
Now that turnover total for the Dogs has gone up to a dozen, and another thunderous dunk from Murray Boyles. He has 15 now.
And I like Lamont Paris using his final timeout. You know, you can't take those timeouts home with you. He's got some momentum going here. Another turnover, and you could get this game, you know, to 6-7 points.
Timeout on the floor, 1:09 to go in Athens. Let's go back to the SEC Network studio. Dari, take it away.
All right, Rich, thank you much. Jeremiah Fears, a fabulous freshman for Oklahoma, going to lead his Sooners into Reed Arena to face Texas A&M. That game gets going at 10 after the hour, just about 6 minutes from now. Sooners on a 2-game winning streak that started with a win on a Saturday against South Carolina, guys. Aggies Sooners, that's next.
Thank you, Dari. South Carolina chipping away, not going away. They're down 9 with 1:09 to go. Georgia has 2 timeouts remaining. South Carolina, though, out of timeouts.
Yep, and definitely hang around for that next game. That backcourt matchup between Jeremiah Fears and Ray Taylor is going to be an outstanding one. And what I would say is, you know, when you look at Georgia, we talked about their resume and how important this basketball game was. All of their losses, up until now, quad 1 losses. You want to secure this victory because on the other side, you've got a pretty challenging schedule, Rich.
Man, that is saying because only LSU is unranked in their next 7 games. 6 of their next 7 games are going to be against ranked teams, starting with number 4 Alabama. That game's going to be on Saturday on ESPN2. After the LSU game, 14th ranked Mississippi State, 13th ranked A&M, 20th ranked Missouri, and the hit list just continues. There is never a night off. You and I were talking about this. The thing that makes the SEC so impressive this year, in addition to the title contenders like Auburn and Tennessee and Alabama, is their floor is really not a floor. If South Carolina loses this game and they go to 0-8, you could say from the outside looking in, they're the worst team in the SEC.
Sure.
If you're the worst team in the SEC and you are South Carolina, you know how strong this league is top to bottom.
Yeah, a team that was able to knock off Clemson earlier this year, and we didn't mention the last team on that schedule, which is Missouri. And Missouri is competing for an SEC title right now, continuing to move up their rankings with the silent assassin Tamar Bates, who I think is going to be an all-league player this year.
Well, you see 10 teams in the top 25 from the SEC. Our friend Joe Lunardi, Joey Brackets, has 13 teams in right now. And if you're wondering, Dogs fans, yes, you are included in that 13 teams. He has the Georgia Bulldogs right now going into February as one of the last 4 byes. And that'll be the first time in a decade that the Georgia Bulldogs would have made the NCAA tournament. So that would be a major feather in Mike White's cap.
And as much as this is challenging for SEC teams, I believe it only will enhance their performance in the NCAA tournament. The ACC challenge, or the SEC-ACC challenge, was heavily favored by the SEC. It was dominated by the SEC this year. But as you look at some of the other conferences, 11-10 versus the Big Ten, I think it was 5-4 versus the Big East. So it's very important that SEC teams continue to push one another to get better, because the teams that they beat, Auburn over Iowa State, Alabama and Auburn over Houston, Auburn over Purdue, those teams that they beat, Tennessee and Illinois, are getting better. So the SEC teams must continue to get better as well.
2 for 2 from the stripe for Blue Cane. He has 9. And it's been a good night from the free throw line for the Georgia Bulldogs. 10 for 12 from the stripe tonight. 1:07 to go, an 11-point lead. Georgia looking to snap a 4-game losing streak. That one's picked off by Lawrence. And a foul called on South Carolina. That's team foul number 9.
Well, one thing that you can say about the Georgia Bulldogs is after having 18 turnovers last game, even with the few turnovers they've had recently, the last, say, 2 or 3 minutes, They had 12 tonight, so they showed improvement by 6. If you're South Carolina, you're going to look at this game film and look at every single turnover and say, listen, those are 16 less possessions that we had. We're on the road against a team that's knocked off Kentucky, played Auburn to 1-possession game, beat Oklahoma, and we had a chance with 16 turnovers.
They average 14 turns a game. They only have 12 tonight, so be thankful for that. That was a circus shot by Jamari Thomas, who was looking for an and one.
Well, he needs to look for his defender. You don't have time to learn about an and one.
Back-to-back 19-point efforts for Jamari Thomas, coming off an injured knee where he missed 4 games. Here's LeFew, an easy 2.
Nice. The advantage of having a 6'5" point guard. Silas Dimley being able to see over the pressure of South Carolina.
Conyers, double team, gets it up and in anyway. 18 for Colin Murray-Boyles. A good night numbers-wise, but not enough for the South Carolina Gamecocks.
Love the fact that the Gamecocks still battling till the game is over. Good execution, resilience, and resolve shown by the Georgia Bulldogs here down the stretch.
And it will not get any easier for South Carolina. We highlighted Georgia's upcoming schedule. The next 4 games for the Gamecocks, all ranked teams. This Saturday, they're home against A&M. Then they go on the road to Lexington to take on the Wildcats. February 12th, it's Chris Beard and the Ole Miss Rebels.
Well, South Carolina's already had a brutal conference schedule. I mean, who starts out with Alabama,
Auburn, both at home. Yeah, congratulations.
Vanderbilt, Florida. I mean, you're talking about all NCAA tournament teams, but it's the gauntlet of the SEC that you're facing this year.
Tremendous coaches, tremendous talent.
Yeah, how many times do we forget that? Oh, yeah, Mike White went to the Elite Eight, by the way. Just another one of the guys in the league.
That one's stolen away. LeFew, veteran move, brings it out, and we will milk the clock out. Georgia snaps a 4-game losing streak. They improve to 15-6 on the season and 3-5 in league play. That'll do it from Athens. Our final score, Georgia 71, South Carolina 60. For Damian Fishback, I'm Rich Hollenberg. So long from the